After failing in her political run for president, Hillary Clinton may now be setting her sights on Hollywood. Clinton is reportedly teaming up with her daughter Chelsea to form a production company to make film and TV projects that would emphasize stories by and about women. The move follows in the footsteps of the Obamas, who also created their own production company and have a deal at Netflix. Okay, so Greg.
Why me?
This is probably not about women, right? This is probably just still all about Hillary Clinton.
Well, I think it's like a consolation prize. If you can't be president, have a Netflix documentary about how you weren't president. It's kind of interesting to see Trump and her switch places. He went from entertainment to politics. Now she's going to politics to entertainment, which leads me to the suggestion. She should host The New Apprentice. Wouldn't that be amazing if that would be, and what if the ratings were bigger than his ratings? It would drive him crazy. Isn't that the perfect thing that could happen?
Yes.
No.
No?
No one wants to watch Hillary. Americans had the choice. She ran for president twice, and they were both like, click, next guy. I mean, she's boring. She has boring tastes. I don't think anybody cares what she's into. This is a vanity project for herself and for Chelsea. She doesn't understand how hard producing compelling television and film is. It's one of the most competitive industries in the entertainment industry. You would know, too, Greg. You're the new king of late night. And so how arrogant of her to think that she can just swoop in and produce this stuff that people want to watch. She's really not going to lift much of a finger. She's going to put her name on a few things and then go to the premiere and walk the red carpet. Yep. But don't they have enough propagandists in the media? They have the newspapers, they have the networks. What more do they want? And Greg's point, I mean, Donald Trump, he's probably the most successful television producer out there, and he's producing a hell of a great presidency right now. No one's going to watch Netflix when you can watch Trump.
Yeah, and there's never a repeat.
That's right. All fresh.
That's a little bit repetitive.
Dana, what do you think?
Okay, so Hollywood has given the Clintons so much money. Think about how much money they have donated to the Clintons since 1990. When he was running for governor and then for president and for re-election and then her campaigns. And then you had the Clinton Global Initiative. And then she runs for president again. There's so much money. And now they're like, oh, and actually we'll let you do this too. I think this is going to continue the Obama versus the Clinton feud because the Obamas have that big deal with Netflix. Right. And so it'll just continue. I also have this really strong urge to go back to the previous block and to complain about something.
What?
Okay, so the question was, do we have the wherewithal and the resources to be able to do this? Okay, I'm sorry, but we are about to honor and observe the 75th anniversary of D-Day, going back to 1944. And we don't think we have the wherewithal and the ability to actually deal with a crisis in the city of Los Angeles with its 50 blocks? I mean, I'm pretty sure Americans can figure out how to get that done.
So can I go back to a block from Friday?
Yes. I don't know why I haven't had that urge in so long. I just got sitting here.
Well, you know why that is?
The whole Pandora's box.
No, I know why that is. You wanted to respond to me, and I appreciate it.
No.
I think it's a legitimate.
I did respond to you.
I think it's a legitimate concern, but I'm looking for ideas because I think there are people who want to.
Can we just stick to bashing Hillary?
Anyway, okay. Let me just say this about
the jerk store
Let me just say this. When you guys look at why huge book deals come in for Obamas and the Clintons, or now Obama has a deal with Netflix, right? And I think Clinton's going to get a deal. Why? Because guess what? We believe in capitalism, and these corporations say, hey, there's a huge demand for political content right now. Not only on the cable channels, but you look at Facebook, you look at the newspapers that are doing so well. People want political content, and guess what? Obama and Clinton are going to provide it.
I think the content's being forced down the viewer's throat.
No, I don't.
It's when there's an ex-president like Barack Obama who comes to Netflix and say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about doing some film. What do you think Netflix is going to say, Juan? No.
Yes, because
I mean, they want to be in bed with the guy.
Oh, no. Let me just tell you something. They're shareholders, and if the shareholders thought, we're going to lose money, then the executives, no, this is a money-making deal, and you have to understand, just like there's a niche audience for conservatives, there's a niche audience for liberals.
Well, this just furthers her excuse tour, and it's all about victimizing women. It's by women, about women, for women. I mean, when is she ever going to depart the train of I lost because of my gender?
I wonder if they'll have Meryl Streep on. Call back from Friday.
Yeah, very good, very good. For our regular viewers.
All right.
Fox News headlines 24/7, Sirius XM 115. Here with what you're saying, and just a hunch, I think people have comments on this.
Yeah, big time, Jillian. Good morning, guys. So Robert De Niro, who played Robert Mueller on Saturday Night Live in his no fan of the president, appeared in a video alongside federal prosecutors who served under both Republican and Democratic presidents. All of them feel there is enough evidence to indict President Trump on multiple felony counts of obstruction of justice. Now, as you've been talking about all morning, Robert Mueller did not reach that conclusion because he says you can't indict a sitting president. And then there's Attorney General Bill Barr, who says that Mueller made it clear that it wasn't just the OLC opinion as to why he didn't reach that conclusion. And around we go. But there is a whole lot of reaction on this video flooding social media, especially from folks on the right. Nell says, and at least 1,000 more prosecutors who say there is no crime. Jack on Facebook chiming in saying, myself and 1,000 former movie watchers think De Niro should stick to making movies. Anthony also chiming in with this tweet saying, well, if De Niro says it, it must be true. I mean, if we can't trust entertainers with politics, then who can we trust? The petition signed by those 1,000 federal prosecutors was created by a group called Protect Democracy.
I watched Meet the Parents the other day.
Oh, did you?
Great movie.
It's great good.
It's just a good movie. It's a good all-around movie. This is a great story here. Hillary Clinton, keynote speaker at a cyber defense event.
Bingo, Rob. So Hillary Clinton, who made probably one of the most publicized cyber security mistakes by conducting official business on a private email server, is going to be a keynote speaker at a cybersecurity summit. California-based firm FireEye making that announcement on Facebook, sparking a flood of reaction. Jeff on Twitter says, how to delete your emails effectively is the subject. Laura chiming in on Facebook saying, I hope her speech is titled The Skeletons in My Cyber Closet. Christopher coming in with this tweet, I don't know any cyber expert who could protect 33,000 emails better than Hillary. So there you have it. Hillary Clinton, of course, also attributes her presidential election loss to cyber crimes committed by the Russians. You can count on her speech being on that and not the email server.
Interesting. This song is so popular. The story's so great. Now I'm wondering if Lil Nas X can come and perform here.
I think he should. I think we can officially invite him onto the show to do this. So it is the #1 song in the nation right now, Old Town Road, and rapper Lil Nas X just performed it in front of a crowd of screaming elementary school students.
Great.
Watch this video. It's fabulous. So the 20-year-old rapper took a trip to Landers Elementary School in Mayfield, Ohio, after seeing a video of these very same kids singing the song. That video that you see right there went viral online. He loved it and then posted on Instagram, saw these kids turning up to Old Town Road 5 days ago and had to come through and perform one time. Love these moments. This video, like I said, going viral, guys. Everybody's loving it. John says, what a great guy. Awesome. Another praise tweet. No phones, just living in the moment, which is so true. All those kids were just having fun. No phones in their hands.
So great. Yeah. Gotta love it.
We have a Friday concert series. I'm sure we could bump somebody for him.
Yeah,
you come on over, sir. Pick a week. We'll clear the schedule.
Bring Billy Ray Cyrus with you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Donald Trump has a dramatically different approach to the media than his predecessor, to put it mildly. Joining us now is Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, who's out with an updated version of his book, Obama, The Call of History. And first question, does it put an extra layer of pressure on you when you write stories for a paper that Trump often blasts as the failing New York Times?
Yeah, it does, but it's an odd relationship. It's a love-hate relationship, right? He loves the New York Times.
Guys. He gives you interviews.
Right.
You've been on some of those interviews.
Absolutely, and he craves approval from the paper he read his entire life growing up in New York. His father read, and he gets mad at us when he doesn't get what he thinks he ought to get. I get it, and it's that's natural, but he's reading, and that's a good thing for us.
From your book, Barack Obama authorized his aides to declare war on Fox. And former senior White House official Dan Pfeiffer later said that this had been a mistake of hubris. Was that a sort of a precursor to Trump versus New York Times, Trump versus CNN?
I mean, look, on a small scale, right? I don't want to equate them because what Trump is doing is much different, much broader, much deeper, much more intense. And yet, and what he did was, what President Obama did was something that all of the press basically objected to. They said, we're going to single out Fox and not invite them to these pool events. We're not going to invite them. And the other network said, no, we're not going to do it. And I thought that was a great moment of solidarity where we said that on the news side anyway, we don't believe that you should be able to pick and choose between organizations. And that's sort of, as you say, in a way, a precursor for where we're at now.
Let's compare presidents, Obama and Trump. People think Obama had a love fest with his press corps, as he certainly did in the 2008 campaign. But you say he made a crucial change as president that ended up limiting access for reporters. How?
Yeah, I think we overstate this idea that he was in this love affair with his reporters. I didn't feel that. I got a lot of yelling phone calls from people in the Obama White House. And one thing he did basically was he killed what we call a pool spray. This is when a small group of reporters goes into the Oval Office when a president has a visitor, and we often get to throw out questions that about the news of the day. Obama hated doing that. President Obama hated doing that, and he basically stopped doing it. He did about a third as many of those as President Bush, about a fifth as many as President Clinton did. President Trump, by comparison, loves doing that, has no problem with taking our questions.
Virtually every day.
He does it virtually every day.
He takes a lot of questions.
Exactly. In that sense, he talks to us a whole lot more than President Obama ever did.
Right. On the other hand, Donald Trump has all but abolished the daily press briefings, which is too bad. But the White House argument is, well, he gives you direct access. You don't need to talk to the press secretary, so there's a trade-off.
Look, I would rather talk to the president than a press secretary, but there's still a difference. And I still think the briefing serves an important function because you can ask compound questions. You can ask put important things on the record. You're not shouting across the room or with the helicopter blades going. And we've lost that, not just at the White House, also the State Department and the Pentagon. We've now gone a full year without a briefing by the Pentagon. It's counterproductive for them because they can't get their message out. So I wish they would rethink about that.
So if you happen to be on Pool or somebody from your paper's on Pool and you got, sort of 8 seconds to get a question to the president and it's noisy, you're saying you can't ask a two-part question or with any nuance?
Yeah, at a Pool spray you have to shout out.
And it makes it easier for him to say, oh, that's fake news.
He said, Mr. President, what about Iran? Mr. President, what about Meghan Markle? You can ask questions like that. You get his attention. He'll say something. But you can't say, Mr. President, on this date you said this, but on this date your Secretary of Housing said that, and this date you did this. How do you reckon? You can't ask that kind of question in that kind of environment. And you can ask a press secretary that at a briefing, on the record, on camera.
Maybe the White House likes it that way.
Maybe the White House likes it that way. I think you're there.
When Donald Trump and certainly his aides complain that the overwhelming number of stories in the major media about this president are negative, it doesn't make them untrue. Does he have a point?
I have a hard time measuring what a story is positive or negative, and I don't know who decides if a story is positive. If it's true, it's true. That's what I'm looking for. And a story that they consider to be negative may be positive, depending on how you look at it. So I don't like that whole positive-negative thing. Is the coverage tough at times? Yes, of course it is. He's done a lot of things that are controversial. If you do things that are controversial, you're going to
That's the defense. Do we cover this president differently because we've decided he is so controversial?
No, I think we cover what he does for what he does. We cover it on the merits. In other words, if a president comes out and says something, I'm not going to talk about Joe Biden to use your previous thing, I'm not going to talk about Joe Biden on forced oil, that's not going to produce a story. If he comes out and says, I agree he's a low IQ individual and Kim Jong-un is right, that's going to produce a story. And that's not the fault of the media. That's just us responding to what's put in front of us.
All right. Peter Baker, who covered both White Houses. Thanks very much. Good to see you.
Appreciate it.